All right. Now we're about to start our second episode of Leave It on the Line. So guest today is Chef Chad Krahling, and Leave It on the Line is a series where we dive into what it takes to make it in this industry for the everyday chef and all that it comes with it. So we talk about the past, the present, and the future, all based off the individuals that have made it in the business, if you will, or made it for a long time, just friends and friends that recommend friends, and we just go from there. Chef Chad Krahling actually works with me at the Honda Center. He's the exec sous chef of the Honda Center, and he has worked at some of the best restaurants across the country, well, in California.
Yeah, California.
But he's traveled the world a little bit and been all over. But let me welcome you, Chef.
Thank you.
Cheers. And we're having his favorite beer. Most of the time on Leave It on the Line, we try to get a Chimay. We'll see how red my face gets during this podcast.
Yeah, it's got a lot of alcohol in it.
So oh, good. We're gonna
8.5 or 9.
It's a 9 point. Oh, it's 9. What is it? Right now it is a 7. It's a 7. It's a 7.
Ah. Well, I think the red one may have a little more than.
This here goes to 7. Yeah. But
it's
you even brought your own glass.
Yeah, you gotta have the right glass.
So that makes me. I'm just going to drink out of this clean pint glass.
Well, it's good stuff.
No, it's definitely refreshing. I apologize for my little bit of a hoarse voice, but you guys know how it is when you have to work while you're sick, no matter what. You know, this whole episode is. We were just talking about that the other night, working while we were sick.
Yeah, we were. Used to be that you had to go in. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what you had. You could be coming out of both ends. Didn't freaking matter. The chef didn't give a shit.
No.
It's like, what? You're not coming in?
Well,
why? Well, I'm bleeding out. Oh, well, put a tourniquet on.
Yeah. But
why don't you come in?
It's coming at both ends. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll have somebody prep your station.
Yeah.
Can you make it in by 4:30?
Yeah. Well, wow. I'm a little disappointed in you. I thought more of you.
I thought you were a little bit tougher than that.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Oh, just a little stomach flu, and you're not going to be able to make. Well, I didn't think you'd want me in because, I'm throwing up and I could get people sick. What? What are you talking about?
Now, how long have you been cooking?
About 20 years.
Okay. So what'd you do before you started cooking?
I was a busboy. I've always worked in restaurants. I did a little construction, but in high school, my first job actually was in middle school, because in Florida, as you know, you can get a waiver, and I got a waiver so that I could work at 14. And I worked as a dishwasher in Cocoa Beach at a little place called Pedro's Capri.
Oh, that sounds really fancy.
For the 15 hours a week at $2.50 an hour.
A whopping $2.50?
$2.50 an hour. But it was enough to, I wanted a surfboard, and so I put the time in, and I eventually was able to purchase it after many months of making, $45 a paycheck.
Now, did you like it right away?
It was a means to an end. This is something that I wanted to do something, and this is what I figured I could do to get what I wanted.
Right.
But at some point, I don't know when. You know how it is when you're in the kitchen. You're doing the thing, and as a dishwasher, there's a lot of time that's down, and so you end up, the chef needs help, and so you step in. Okay, well, what do you need to do? Well, I need you to take this pasta and weigh it out, and then put it into a bus tub oiled in portion size. And then I did that, and then he showed me how to do chicken francais. It was like the first thing I ever learned how to do. Bread the chicken and trout francais, and with the lemon juice and the butter and the pasta. And so I would use that to try to get girls. There's always a reason.
There's always a reason.
It's like, hey, I'll cook for you. I only can do one thing, but hey, I'll cook.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah. It's the trick. It's always been the trick. So
now, Culinary School.
Culinary School. Yeah, very long story short. So I did that for a number of years, and then I went as a busboy, worked in front of the house, in several different restaurants. But then at the same time, I started doing some light prep, shucking oysters. I had to do a bale of oysters.
Now you're originally from Florida.
Yeah, from Florida. I grew up high school in Florida.
Down in
Cocoa Beach.
Cocoa Beach area,
Yeah,
right?
Cocoa Beach. My mom's side of the family's still there.
Yeah, so I've got my brother down in
Yeah, well, they're
Melbourne, Indian
yeah,
Atlantic.
well,
it's
they're-
very all.
My family is like all the way around your family, so it's very very incestuous.
It's really weird that I would fly across the country, and 2 years later, I get your number from a chef, and he's like, yeah, he's definitely looking for something to do. And, I was like, give you a call. And then 4 months later, we're talking, and you're like, hey, I grew up in Florida. I'm from Florida.
That's right. Well, it's a small world. And I mean, Florida is a great place to grow up. It's very flat. It's just different. It's a different vibe. It's a different, different ebb and flow. It's just really.
Well, did you have? Was it seasonal down there at that time?
It was seasonal, but there were enough people that lived on the beach to where the restaurant had regulars, that people that lived there and so forth. It was Bernard Surf. I remember it was right on A1A and First Street, right in the middle of Cocoa Beach, and shucked oysters, and I did some terrible screw ups. That's where I dropped a big bag of flour on the floor, and then I tried to mop it up and just made bread.
Now, did they tell you to mop it up?
No, I just was like, oh shit, what do I do?
Yeah,
and then I just made a worse mess. It was horrible.
It
was horrible.
That's pretty good.
And then the manager comes and he's looking at me and goes, "What the hell? Are you an idiot?" I was literally 16. 16 years old, male, stupid.
16-year-old.
Yeah, I
started much later in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, so did that, and then went into the military, and then I was looking to get out, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I was going to go into law enforcement, but I decided getting shot at's probably not the best thing in the world to do.
Yeah,
that'll
change your mind.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, how long were you in the Marines? Thank you for your service, by the way.
You're welcome. I was in for 4 years. Went a lot of places, did a lot of stuff. Spent some time in the Middle East and in Pacific area, all over the place, which was a great experience. It's not like I would recommend it, but I wouldn't not recommend it. It takes a certain kind of person to be in the service, and if you're hard of character and like to do things different, then it's okay. But if you're
what branch were you in?
I was in the Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
Semper
Fi.
Yeah, that's right, Semper Fi. But it kind of skews me because most Marines are pretty twisted, and I'm definitely pretty twisted. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I definitely can agree with that.
Yeah. So after that, culinary school, right out. I was out 3 months out of the Marine Corps and went right into culinary school in San Francisco, the California Culinary Academy. Right there off of Geary, and God, I don't even remember where it is, but it used to be in the.
Now, where's this? San Francisco.
It's San Francisco.
Okay.
It was the German consulate during World War I. It was a German consul, and our government took it over, and then it became
a culinary school.
Yeah, it was a really cool building, really old, and had great. Stuff. There's like things on the walls and tapestries and all this weird kind of cool stuff. And it was a really cool place to go to school. It was really interesting. And San Francisco is one of those places where if you live there, you could eat a different meal at a different restaurant and have a different experience for like 2 or 3 years and never go to the same restaurant.
Yeah, it's definitely a food town.
Yeah, it's a total food town. And, living there and starting out there, I think it's definitely the New York of the West
Now, do you
Coast.
think do you think San Francisco is stronger than LA on the food scene?
Yes, because it's
a different style.
Well, I think it's stronger just because it's smaller. It's within a 7 square mile block or 7 square miles.
You might have to talk a little closer.
Okay, 7 square miles. The entire culinary experience can be had. In LA, you have to drive from here to all over the place to find the same. So it's more of a, I'll take the train to this restaurant, and then I'll get a cab over to this restaurant, and then I'll go over to this place, and then I'll go walk. And there's different times. There's like this is a time to go to this restaurant, at these hours, and then there's another time to go at a different restaurant, and you don't want to go to that same restaurant at those hours.
Now, how long were you in San Francisco?
I was there for almost 9 years. I was there for a while.
Wow. So was how many years in school?
I did 2 years in school, and then I stayed on after. So
okay.
And worked in the city, as a sous chef and as a cook, mostly as a cook. But God, man, some good times, man.
Now, what was now you've worked you've worked all over, and we'll get into that, but you definitely worked at a place that I just think is amazing because, I didn't get the opportunity. I mean, I was in South Florida, and there's some great chefs that I kind of worked with, and there was a really talented couple of chefs that, kind of mentored me a little bit, and then I worked with some good people. But I was immediately, I think I kind of climbed the ladder a lot faster than I should have, maybe sometimes when I reflect back. I cooked for years, but before I knew it, I had a spot. But you actually, you worked for Jeremiah Towers at Stars, right?
For 3 years.
What was that like? Because they just recently, for those of you that don't know, they just recently did a documentary. What was it? Anthony Bourdain was one of the producers.
With CNN. It was with CNN, with Jeremiah Towers kind of looking back because he was opening up a restaurant again in New York, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So he had won the James Beard Award at the end of the career in San Francisco, and he was with Alice Waters over in with Coyote Cafe, I believe, in East Bay. So it's kind of that generation.
Now,
of
was
chefs.
he at Chez Panisse as well?
No, he was not at Chez Panisse. I don't know. No, I don't think he was at Chez Panisse. There was another. I think that was Wolfgang's was Chez Panisse, truthfully. I think. Yeah. So he had Stars, and it was a great restaurant, very cool. It was the place to be. I saw a lot of stars. Nicolas Cage had his table, and you'd see producers come in. Pavarotti came in and put a towel on his head. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, why does he have a towel on his head? And then everyone else put a towel on their head because he put a towel on his head. I met Julia Childs, Jen Birnbaum. We did dinners. I mean, it was cool. I got to see a lot of stuff. I got to learn a lot. It was very hardcore.
Now, when you say hardcore, what year is this?
This is in the early 90s, like 92 to 96.
Oh, my God. So it's like, and now that was when it was really banging.
Yeah, it was really
popping.
banging. Yeah, it was doing between, I think, $10 and $12 million a year as an independent restaurant at that time. And that's really good. I mean, some hotels right now that have 500 or 600 rooms and 50,000 square feet of meeting space don't do that kind of revenue even now.
Right.
So, and it was super high average check. We're looking at, even back then, I remember the entrees were in the 28s to 32s at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was,
you weren't messing around.
We were messing around, and it was cool because the menu changed every day. Mark Franz was really the catalyst to it. And, Jeremiah, he would come in, and I can remember one time he came in and I'd done some prep, and he had some, he would entertain. And so he would come in and then cook something occasionally for somebody specific, and he would just house your mise en place. He would just come in and just go, oh, I want me concassé on your brunoise, and I'll take this. And he's a Brit from Hong Kong, so it's very what's the word? God damn it, you're gonna have to.
It's a podcast. We have all night.
Yeah,
plenty of beer.
What's the hell is the aristocratic?
Okay, so he's an aristocrat.
He's very much.
That's one of my favorite jokes.
Yes, he's he's very aristocratic. So we were sitting down one night and talking, and the whole group of us, and we were all talking about the different things that we did as children, the things you had to do,
right? Like
take out the trash and whatever
chores you might have had,
whatever it was, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I had to mow the lawn. It's just very American kind of thing.
Mow the lawn,
yeah,
take the
whatever.
trash out.
He had to go down into the wine room and pick out the Cabernet for this evening's dinner. That was his job as a 12-year-old.
So you were totally.
I'm like, this guy is
from a different
Yeah,
planet.
he's on a different planet.
Than from where? Yeah,
Yeah.
especially now. How old were you then when you were?
I was in. Well, I mean, I was a little older than most of the other cooks because I'd been in the service, and I think that kind of prepared me because they're nuts. The people in there are nuts, and the way they act are nuts. They're like drill instructors with chef hats, and they screamed and they threw stuff. I once saw a bowl of concassé get kicked like it was a field goal through a window in the door going down the stairs, full of concassé, and concassé went flying everywhere because it wasn't seeded properly. There were too many seeds in the concassé.
Yeah, that.
I mean, it just stuff like that, just like.
They don't. I mean, I've worked with guys that would berate you. I had a guy, I had somebody throw a heavy, the 25 quart mixing bowl got tossed my way. But at the same time, I think that, on the last podcast, and if you get a chance, you should check it out with Chef Grant. We were just talking about working for those guys, and I never had anybody kick my food across the room. But that mixing bowl was empty. But I had seen things like it, but not in that era because I was coming up 8-9 years later. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that was at the heyday. I don't know what would happen now. Oh my God.
You couldn't
get fired.
Nah, you couldn't do it. The thing is though, I'm a better chef because of that environment. I am better because I got pushed and it was, it's kind of like you can't be nice all the time.
Right.
And it's okay to be mean. It's one of these things where you have to weigh it against what you're learning. If the amount of stuff that you're learning, is up here,
yeah,
but you're taking this much shit at the same time, it's all right.
Yeah,
because you are learning shit. I learned how to smoke, roast, braise, cure. My culinary repertoire is directly reflective of what I learned there. Without that, I couldn't be who I am now. I couldn't be the chef that I am.
Was it like your culinary boot camp, if you will?
Oh, absolutely. It was complete culinary boot camp.
Did it work well for you because you had just got out of the
got out of the Marine Corps and
this was like
it's the same stuff.
And nobody's shooting at you.
Yeah,
and
they're not shooting, but they're just as mean
food.
And horrible. So it's like, okay, I can deal with this. But it even then you would go through cooks like water.
Well, I think
like crap through a goose. I mean, it would just be like culinary students would go through there like explode. You work for a day. I mean, but see, the thing is once you get to a certain level, even there as a cook, a line cook, you will take on some of the characteristics.
Right.
You will become a manic psycho just like them. And I fired a kid. I remember he was and he was on the pizza station and he was just floundering. And I don't know if you've talked about the spin, the culinary spin.
Oh no.
when you've got so many tickets and you're not sure what the hell to do. So all you do is spin in a circle, but you don't actually do anything. So you're like, but you don't actually do anything. You might put one pizza in, or you might start one ticket.
Hit the wall.
Yeah, you hit it's just like it's almost like a blinding that you just can't get past. You just can't. You can't remove yourself from it. So what I did was I said, "You're fired. You're fired for the night. You got to stand there and you can't move. And I'm going to show you how to do it." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Shut up and stand there." And then the chef comes over and goes, "What's going on?" I said, "This fucking idiot doesn't know what he's doing. And he's fired for the night and he's going to stand there and learn how to do it." He goes, "Good. Fucking idiot. Pay attention. You might learn something." So then I'd start working and I'd, get the tickets up. This is how you put the ticket up. See this? This is how you put the tickets up. This is where you put them and this is how you read them. And you start here and you work this way. Okay. What do I have the same? I got 5 here, 2 here, 3 here. Okay, we're going to do this the same. See this? I'm putting 4 together. They're all going in the oven right now. Got that? 4 in the oven at one time. Do you understand? And then you go to the next thing. Burgers. I'm going to get some going now. I don't have an order, but I know they're coming in. I know they're coming in right now. I'm going to get them on the grill. So when they come in, I'll be ready to go. I'll get this going. I'll do this. And then every time there would become I'd get through like one task, and then I'd look over at him and go, Steve, this is what you do. Steve, this is what you do. And he's like,
And then when it was all over?
Then it was all over. Then he came in, and the next day he had to do it, and he was actually better. And I didn't have to fire him again off the line.
No.
You know, and I
think my favorite story from that restaurant that you tell is with the grill guy.
Oh, the grill. God. Yeah, well, there was this and it's too bad because I cannot remember what the guy's name was, but he was
He might want to be anonymous.
Yeah, he might want. I know, but he was. If he's still alive, you know.
Yeah.
Really, it's like that. It's like that. This guy was probably, you know, doing some things with his nose. We'll say. We'll just use that as a code word.
Code word.
Yeah,
things
code
with
word.
his nose.
So he's doing lamb loins, and I'm in. They had the setup where you had the grill station. They had Sauté 1 and Sauté 2. Sauté 2 was the easiest station, but usually had the best food. So that was where the sous chef or the chef would work.
Right.
And then the new guy on the line would be on Sauté 1, and then the grill guy would be the most senior cook in the kitchen that really could kick butt, because he controlled the tempo, and then he would call the fire. So you'd do fires in bulk. So you'd go, you want to get in on this fire? And then you'd ask the servers, you're like, you ready for a fire? You ready to come in? You ready to come? Okay, let's go. And then you put your tickets down, and then they go boom, 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 boom. And then you'd be go, okay, no, you can't get in. You're out. Too late. You're not in. So we'd put it in, and then they'd fire off, rattle off the 15 things that you had to get finished, okay? And then it would all come up at once, and then you'd go to the next set. So you're always working in bulk, 10 to 15 items at a time. But you're also cooking the other things that are working.
How many seats was this? Because you said,
I want to say 350 to 400, because it would do, I want to say 400 or 500 covers a night. I mean, it was 250, 260, but it had a whole like bar area too. So, God, I wish I could remember exactly, but it was pretty crazy. So we would do these fires, and he was slicing lamb for one of these big fires, and he cut the crap out of his finger. And I was like, oh, dude, you just totally whacked your finger. You're going to have to go off the line. He goes, there's no time to go off the line. So he took his thumb, and he put it on the grill, and he cauterized the wound of his finger. And I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
No, super glue's not fast enough.
And then he literally, it stopped the bleeding, but I'm sure it hurt like hell. And he put one of those little finger caught things on it, and then went back to work and worked through the entire night. Didn't even faze him. Not even. And I mean, that kind of stuff.
He's like beast mode.
Yeah, beast mode. Well, it's just like that. It's kind of like you just you just didn't stop. You couldn't stop.
I mean, and then how do you call in sick? Like we were talking earlier, like, oh, I'm not feeling good. My throat hurts a little bit. And then like you got a guy, and you're like, are you going to call in sick? And this guy just basically cauterized his own 4-stitch wound in his thumb.
The only way you could call in sick is to come in sick and be told to go home.
Is that how?
That's how it works. So you would be like, I'd be working hot app, and I'm on the hot app station. I'm sick, and you're just like, whoa, I'm gonna die, or you're turning pale. Doesn't matter. You throw up once in the trash can right next to you. You got a prep table very much like this prep table. And then
I love this.
One of those, those little square trash cans on the end, and then you're
Slim
like,
Jim.
You're like, and then the chef sees it and goes, "Is that it? Are you done?" I go, "I don't know, chef. I think he goes, "Okay, get the hell out of here." So you have to throw up 3 times. That was the rule. You had to have the 3.
That was the lesson.
Yeah, at 3 you were good. After that, it was yeah.
Well, what's funny is because we've all been sick, here over the holidays. Because the holidays are so rough on us as chefs. and you kind of always are battling something. And I was like, I gave my speech where I was like, okay, listen, back in the day, you never called in sick,
Right.
and I was like, I'm going to tell you now that I need you guys to start at this. I gave up on that a few years ago. Like I said, that's enough. You know, like I had a fever and I was trying to get out of bed and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to get every one of my chefs sick. I'm going to get every cook sick. And, you know, because I think I really started to clue in on it when Gina and I had kids.
Right.
Because like one of the kids would get sick and then you're like, you know, then the next kid and then you and then your wife.
Oh yeah.
And then everybody gets it. So I was like, you know, this is, you know,
like a biological Russian roulette.
Yeah. It's just like, who's going to get it and when?
No, I know, but don't you think that, I think that things have really changed.
For the better, I think they have changed.
I would agree.
I miss the wildness.
I would agree in terms of the being sick and that kind of stuff, because I mean, we know a lot more than we did then, and the cross contamination and things like that. So that makes sense. Okay, I get that. But I think the being pushed to the level that we were pushed and the way that we were pushed.
Oh yeah.
You can't do that anymore, and I don't think that the next crop of chefs will be as good because of it.
Really?
I just don't think that, you know, I feel it's just like, you know, I'm sure it's the same kind of mentality of somebody that came out of the Depression. Oh, yeah, once you've been through the Depression.
Yeah, I think you stamped your old chef log right there with that statement.
Well, I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Because I think about, I mean, like I am, it's really that, and I did a shift drink on it because there's this big divide, right? There's the young chef and then there's the old chef. The old chef never called in sick, right? And he worked on his birthday and he missed practices, and, you know, and then now, the young chef comes in, and I'm not saying all the young chefs are bad, but they're like, hey, it's my 20th birthday, you know, it's my 19th or it's my 21st birthday. I'm asking for it off. And people are like,
Yeah, you know what? The way you say it, when you put it that way, the fact that maybe chefs are finally getting to the point where they are going to be able to have lives, I totally get that. I totally think that is a good thing, to be able to have days
for
off
sure,
and see your family, because I mean, shit, I worked 14 or 15 New Year's days or Christmas straight.
Right.
Completely straight. I mean, I might get, hey, we got our presents to my kids. Okay. All right. You know, it's noon. I got to go.
Yeah.
You know, I missed Christmas dinner. I missed this. I missed that. To be a chef, you miss a lot. And I'm glad that this is the one thing I would agree with, is that I'm glad that chefs have realized that this is why we're all freaking divorced. This is why we can't keep relationships.
Yeah.
Because we do have a relationship, but it's with a kitchen knife and a saute pan. But you know what? Those are hard to sleep with, and they poke you a lot.
Yeah, they're not Mormon cousins.
Yeah,
try
it's not
sticking with the saute pan.
Yeah, so it's like, I was like, oh, ow, that hurt. Yeah, it's not gonna work. And then
I'm glad. I think there needs to be there, like, it's not good enough. The sacrifice is important, and I think what I see, or what my opinion is that, you know, when you run a marathon, when you go through boot camp, when you push yourself, like when we used to do the U.S. Open, I mean, we worked an enormous amount of time.
Sure.
Like, and it was relentlessly day after day after day. You just got busier and busier and busier. And it was like the hardest culinary event that you could possibly do. And I think it makes you stronger. But, you know, you sacrifice something to test yourself.
Yeah, but at that point, there was a light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel. You knew that there was a specific date that was going to end.
Yes.
And then
it's like running a race.
Yeah, you could put it, you know, it's exactly. You're running and you're just like, oh, I just got to make it. I just got to make it that last. And it's almost a runner's attitude in terms of, you just got to push yourself over the finish line. And then after that, you can collapse and drink yourself into oblivion.
Right. 100%. I mean, that's exactly how it went. And I think that, you know, that mentality of like, you got to work so hard. I missed my birthday. I missed my son's practice. You should miss your son's practice.
Just because
I did it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm glad to see that there's there's the movement where it's not as important. Everybody's looking for more balance, because I mean, we came up and it was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't care that you need to go see your grandfather for his last Christmas.
Well, no, if you wanted to go
we're busy.
If you wanted to go to a vacation as a line cook, you had to basically have already started interviewing to a new position, because they were never going to let you off to go. So you had to, okay, well, I really want to go to Christmas, so I'm gonna think about this. So on the 21st, I've got to start interviewing so that when I get back, I'll be ready to go.
Right.
So I'll have a job when I come back, or at least I'll have something in the pipe. As a cook, it's not as hard in San Francisco because there's so many restaurants. You'll find a place to go. You will. You'll find some place. If you're good. If you're a schmuck, you're a schmuck. You're not going to get there. But
well, I mean, yeah, I think I had somebody tell me, I was like, I need to go back and see my grandparents for Christmas. And they're like, if you leave, you're fired.
Yeah, well, I had the same thing happen.
And you're like, okay.
I went to the Rose Parade and watched the Rose Bowl. I got tickets to the Rose Bowl, and I was going to have seats at the Rose Parade. Never been there. And I told my chef, hey, and I was so excited about it. And I told him, he goes, well, how are you going to do that? I go, well, we're taking the flight. And he goes, no, when you're on the station, because I ain't giving you that time off.
Oh.
And you're like, and I was heartbroken at the time because, I'd already done all the sacrifices. I worked there for a year and I hadn't asked for anything. This is the only time I ever asked for anything. And he just drilled me. And I think that's why we let people have time off. We do let people time off. But my only thing is, I think I wish is that they weren't as snowflakey.
Yeah. I mean,
they're too.
Yeah, but you
I mean, it's just like, grab, get a pair.
Yeah,
girls and boys, I don't give a shit. Suck it up. Do it. I don't want to hear your bitching and moaning.
Yeah,
but on the same token, I'll let you off to go see your parents. So I want it to be hard, but I want it to be fair.
Yeah. Hard and fair is like the only way to do it.
But now everybody's all touchy-feely and talk to people like that.
I really
and
feel
HR
like
sucks.
Yeah, well, I really feel like
not ours in general, but just in general, it's hard to be a chef with HR because it really goes against some of the things we do.
I think what's interesting, and I think what's hard, is like the world that we grew up in. Especially, we're leaving out a huge part of your career where you worked for Disney for over a decade, correct?
Yeah, and they took 10 years to correct all the stuff that I learned at Stars in terms of the way I acted.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Stars is like the epitome of rip your face off. You're not good enough.
Right. And then you go to Disney and you have to be touchy-feely about everything all the time. So it was really a dichotomy. It was very A to B. It was just, so different. I mean, it was very difficult for me, and I got in a lot of trouble because I freaking screamed at people. I had this guy on the grill, and I was expoing, and
now that's my biggest like takeaway is like, you worked at one of the best restaurants in the country, and this is how they acted, and then you show up to Disney, who has one of the best reputations as far as quality of service and hospitality, if you will.
Yeah, but you're in a union environment.
And then you show up and you're just like, I can't imagine how out of order you were.
It was really hard. I mean, I berated this one guy. Billy Hugh was his name. He was a Southern boy. Billy Hugh Ray. And he was doing salmon, and I was like, and we had a mesquite grill. And a mesquite grill is kind of, it's a living fire. It moves around in the grill, and you have to really know what you're doing. And if you don't pay attention and keep the fire going, because you have to flip it back and forth, so it's not like an even cooking surface from one side to the other. So this side is hot. I got to take some of these coals and put them over to these coals, get them hot, so that when these coals start coming down, these are ready to go. And then back and forth through the course of the night. You got to do it probably 6 times, right. Loading in coal and then bringing it in. And at the same time you're cooking. Well, he let his fire go down. in the middle of service.
Yeah, I've worked a live wooden grill.
I freaking lit him up. I mean,
Yeah,
like
I think some of the worst ash ones I've ever got.
It was like biblical. It was like biblical. And the funny part is that a guest who was sitting, because the grill was like here, and the way over there was the bar, and the guy could look down the line, and he saw me just teeing off on him because I didn't care who was there. The president of the United States could have been in front of me. If he was screwing up my stuff, I would kill them. You know, I was like, very Marine, you know. So
it's what got you to the top, right?
And then he goes, "Hey, chef, can I talk to you for a minute?" He called me out. And I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be good. So I walked around, I came out, and I say, "Hey, sir, how you doing?" He goes, I've been in a lot of restaurants, and I've never heard a chef be that awful to a cook in my entire life. You really should think about that. That was horrible what you just did. And I was like, "Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm sorry that you had to see that." And I went back and I thought about it a lot because I was like, all right, was I?
Or wasn't I?
Wasn't I? I mean, is that what needed to be happen? Or had I gotten to the point where I have exceeded the tough love?
Right.
Because it was really, I was trying to make him better, but maybe I got a little vindictive at the end there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know, you get your blood gets going, and you know,
I ruined. I think when I was finishing up culinary school. Oh yeah, please. And I was a good interviewer. Yeah, that's really good.
It's really good beer.
We'll have to open up the second one.
Yeah.
I'm a good interviewer, you know, and I was talking with these people that are about to open a restaurant.
Sure.
And I managed to get myself a chef position. And I had run lines and done some stuff, but you know, I don't know if I had any business being the chef.
You were not there yet?
Yeah, I don't think I was there yet. I knew how to make food, but like they're like, "We're going to give you the chef job." And I literally like wet my pants almost, you know. I'm like, "Oh my God, I just realized like, okay, I know how to make the food, but I don't know how to get the food into the restaurant. I don't know what a 30-day net is. I don't know what you know, like all these guys showed up. It was there. I knew how to cook. If the food was in the cooler, I was good. And so like
the whole ordering. How do you order for a menu?
That was not there. But they knew well enough to have another chef with us.
Can we do a pause for 2 seconds?
Yeah, sure. And we're back.
We're back and we're banging.
Yeah, I was just filling up again. You know, I think it's interesting that when I got that job and I realized that I needed to order food and do all this stuff, and running the crew, it was myself and like another chef, Daniel, and he was really talented. And dude, we've worked together long enough, but back in my young days, I was just a complete dickhead, you know, like I was a jerk. And like, I was really just trying to like
compensate for not being sure. So you kind of compensate by being a jerk.
I don't know if I had thought about it. I don't know if I said it. Maybe. I just knew that I wanted the food to be perfect. And I knew that I was a smart ass. So I used my smart ass comments to apply pressure. But like I would say, I was just not nice. You know, I passed tough love quickly because my comments were
biting.
Yeah, a little scathing.
Yeah.
You know, I was condescending.
Well, that's the chef's trick though. The condescension is
I don't know if I've gotten any better.
Well, well, it's funny because I think chefs in general, though, that condescension is a tool that they use almost to correct you. Because they go, really, is that the best you can do? Really?
Yeah, is that
it's
all?
Like, wow, you know? And it's usually they turn around and go, wow, I thought you were so much better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
I wish I was that sweet about it. I mean, like when it was all said and done, the amount of cooks we hired and the amount of cooks that were left when we were starting to like get to the end of the road, if you will, it was just myself and the other chef and his guy that put up with all his crap, and then the guy that put up with my crap. which
So
was
did-
a buddy of mine.
So did
there's
you
4 of us.
Did you blow them out?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just like, I was relentless. I mean, I worked for a guy that had already been to the Beard House twice, and he was only 22 or 23 or something. So I was like, I'm going to be that. I'm going to be, and you're going to make food that's going to be awesome. And I'm going to make sure. And I mean, I had worked in bakeries. I had done a lot of stuff to prepare me for this chef job, and we got there at 8:00 in the morning and we left at 3:30 in the morning. It was kind of that. On Friday and Saturday, it closed at 4 a.m. It had a liquor license that went till 4.
Yeah, but you do that. It's almost like there's only a certain expiration date on that. That kind of working like that in that kind of environment only lasts so long.
Oh yeah,
It's almost like a Michelin chef when they get to that stage. Getting the stars is a Herculean task.
But keeping
them and then keeping the rep. There are chefs that have killed themselves because it's just so much pressure once you get it. Once you get there and you get that level of expertise and people want to come see you and work for you and things like that.
That's what we were talking about during the break was the fact that everybody that worked at Stars did something.
Yeah, everybody, because of the cutthroat kitchen aspect of it. And it was. I mean, you had to get there early enough and work, off the clock. The labor laws that we deal with now with the breaks and all that crap. You couldn't have done the food that we did with that law.
Without,
you can't, because you would need too many people and it would be too cost prohibitive to do it.
I guess the best way to say it is that you couldn't afford to do it that way.
Yeah,
because you couldn't pay cooks to come in.
Not like that. Not with the overtime that we did and the things that we did.
No.
It was just at the right before I left, they went to 10-hour 410s. 410s. I stayed at
410s.
410s. You work 410s a day, and a lot of the cooks started doing that, and they really liked it. So you'd work 40 hours, but you'd get straight time, and you'd work 10-hour days. I stayed at 8. So I would be like, I'm done, guys, at my 8 hours, and I'd go, and I was out, and they'd have to clean up everything. So my station, I would wrap my shit. I was done. I'd be in the bar. I'd be 3 deep by the time they showed up.
And they're like, I should have never done that.
Well, it's like, but they get an extra day off, so it's a trade-off. But even then, I was still working 9 or 10 hours anyway because I was coming in early. I just wasn't having to stay as late to close because those guys got
because you had already got on the clock.
Yeah, because I'd already got on the clock.
That's my favorite part is that you had already you had already gotten on the clock. So once you got on the clock, your time was ticking, so you only had 8 to go.
That's right.
You could come in at noon, that was on you.
Exactly.
But 2 to 10, baby, I'm out at 10.
And as I got to be a better cook, I would come in later, but when I first got there, I'd get there between 12 and 12:30. I didn't get on the clock until 3. You clocked in at 3, regardless of when you got there. But you know what? It was, and now you could sue for that, and you could close them down. But all the things I learned got me the job I got now and the money I have now.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, so I would have closed that crap down, but where would I be?
Right.
What would I have become? Because I didn't suck it up and tough it out and do it and not be a little bitch.
Right. Well, I had a guy.
That's what I'm talking. I mean, that's what I mean.
I had somebody tell me, I was like, hey, what are you doing? And I think it was, we were like doing potatoes or something. And I was like, oh, that's something that I'm just not good at. And he's like, well, we have 900,000 of these. Or, we had like a million of these to do.
You're going to get good.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm not going to pay you to do it. There I went over the clock. Punch out.
Turning them.
Turn into potatoes.
Turn and learn to turn it. Oh, those edges aren't right.
Yeah. Put it in the basket. And he's like, I'm not going to lose money on my food so you can learn how to do this.
Right.
He's like, so somewhere there's a give, and I'm not going to pay you to do it. You better figure this out. And it was like, the mentality was like, you better punch out because, he's teaching you.
Right. Well, I mean.
And like part of me is like, that is crazy.
Nowadays it wouldn't happen. So with that caveat, Nowadays, that wouldn't happen.
No.
So where are you going to get the experience like that?
You have to pay for it.
You're going to have to pay for it, or you're going to have to. It's going to take you much longer. So remember, the shift drink you had, where how long it takes you to become an executive chef. As long as it took us, it's going to take you longer, because you ain't going to have to suck it up, because nobody can push you like we did, because they can't afford to, because of two things, because of labor laws and wages.
Yeah.
And they're going to get sued. The litigious California lawsuits. I mean, you get sued for anything.
Right.
What was the goat salad thing? You remember that? The goat salad closed a restaurant because the person that came up, they were probably getting their break. They probably had a shift break.
That was here. That was Amazing Grapes. That was here.
Yeah. Well, it's the same kind of crap.
Yeah, I think that
it's just.
I mean,
They've gone too far. They're ruining it. They're ruining it not for us, but they're ruining it for the next generation.
Well, what's going to happen is there's going to be. Well, I think there's so much going against our industry, which is so scary for me. Because like I love this industry so much, but we have you're going to have to start. The rules are changing, and you have to adapt to the rules. But when you change the rules and you spend money in the process of changing the rules, so okay, everybody works 8, everybody gets 30 plus 2 10-minute breaks. So I'm going to need 2 more cooks. So to make this work, I'm going to need to spend an extra $250 a day.
Well, what is the French Laundry doing? Those guys are doing stages. So I mean,
are stages even legal?
I don't know. No, they're not.
So
they're not. You can't have somebody work for free. You used to be able to do it. You can't now. But what is the monetary value,
right,
of the experience that you're going to get by working in the French Laundry for 2 or 3 weeks?
I would work there for free now.
Well, no shit. So would I. But that you can't do that anymore because some bureaucrat has screwed it up. These laws have a causal effect. The food that you're getting now is because you're living off of the chefs from yesteryear. The new crop of chefs are very good, but they're not going to be the same. And maybe they'll adapt and change and become.
I think it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to pay for it more.
That's going to be the toughest thing
you'll have to pay for it even more
the
than
customer
than
to get used to.
Yeah, well, it's going to take out. I think it's going to the high tier people, the really wealthy people that are going to go to a Michelin star, 5-star, 3-star, whatever it is, restaurant will still go, but it's the guy that's going for the 2 or the 1. He's coming up in his career, and he's trying to make it work. He's not going to have the opportunity because it's just too goddamn expensive to do it.
Yeah,
and
what do they
really
say?
sad.
You want to make $1 million in the restaurant business? Start with 3.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. You want to make $1 million, you need 3. It's not a business in California that can be profitable for a lot of people. It has to be. It's very, very difficult just for permitting and costs and so forth. I mean, if you open up a Carl's Jr. in California, it's going to cost you 50, 60 grand, 70 grand just to open the frickin' door. That's not including construction costs.
Yeah.
That's just permitting crap. You go to Arizona.
Was it like
it's $3 grand, $4 grand.
Yeah.
That is what is going to kill the restaurant industry because,
I think it could kill a lot of industries, but what the toughest part is that the margins are much tighter.
Oh, and with the minimum
F&B.
wage.
Yeah.
I mean, with this insane $15 an hour minimum wage.
What is that going to do? And David Chang talks about it quite a bit. And he's like, I sell ramen in New York and it should cost $32 a bowl, but nobody will pay $32 a bowl for my ramen. He's like, that's how much it costs for me to rent my place. And you know what I mean? And
right.
pay
Well, no,
and he's like, but nobody will pay it.
Well, it's not.
And so it's like, where do I go?
Well, what
do you do?
You're gonna. I mean, a lot of people, fortunately, and well, at least they own the building or they've been there forever, so they've got a.
Well,
they've got a foot up on it.
Keller that might get over. That might get over on him. Keller just closed. Beauchamp or one of them. Beauchamp. Beauchamp's closed because of the rent. The rent they said that they were already working with him. I just briefly read the article. I mean, it's something that I think each restaurant You know, like, I mean,
Well,
it's tough.
if
It's tough to run a business.
Look, personally, I'm not a cookie cutter kind of restaurant kind of guy. I don't like, I mean, not that they do anything wrong and their food is good. Cheesecake Factory is great, but it's the same shit everywhere you go.
Right. It's
I
a
want
chain.
something original.
Right.
You know, I want to go to a place that you can only go to that place to get it. It's got to be that place.
I feel like two things. I feel like that this younger generation that as chefs we I guess we banter with, or we look down on the millennials, if you will. I think the millennials do a really good job of looking for originality in their product.
There is a lot of creativity. That is
And
absolutely.
like, I don't know how many millennials are beating down the door of cheesecake. I really see, I'm like, and you know, I'm on Instagram a lot with ECO, and you know, we're posting shirts, and I'm following chefs, and I'm following people, and they're hitting spots all over the place.
Right.
And this is that younger generation. I know that and a lot of it has to do with like, how good does the selfie look? How good is that shot when you're at that very cool place to be? And I don't know if cheesecake is the place to be. So I like that their generation is pushing that next, you know, like the gastropub, you know, down the street that makes everything.
Well, I'm just concerned that there's got to be a give and take with it. And I just think the legislation and the anti-business climate that you have in California makes it very difficult to open a new business. Or even, because, I mean, if you're a chef and you open up a restaurant, you are going to get sued.
Eventually.
For something. And it will not be because even if you're completely 100% try to follow the rules and in your heart you try to do the right thing, you'll still get sued. It used to be that the jerks got sued, but now everyone gets sued. And that costs a $2 on a plate or $3 on a plate. I mean, it's just.
Are you saying that the Q factor should now be called the Sue factor?
Well, yeah. Well, it is. It's. I mean, God knows that chefs. I mean, we're not the most politically correct that you'd find. I mean, we're not Harvey Weinstein per se. Well, although some of us might have been in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, caveats.
Yeah, there's definitely people. I mean, like, I think, and I've got and it's a segue, but I have a young lady that I'm going to have on probably in the next couple of podcasts, and she's been busting my chops to get on just to talk about what it was like for her.
Yeah,
to
well,
cook
females,
for 15 years.
Being female in this industry is rough. I mean, it's rough. I don't think it's as rough as being in the entertainment industry, but it's probably a close second. It's pretty bad.
For sure. Well, cops.
Well, there's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of it's very macho. It's kind of
Yeah, it's
tough. It's mean.
It's grizzled.
It's grizzled. It's very grizzled. And if you can, it's not touchy feely. Now, I've seen some restaurants that are that way, and they're generally female driven.
Well,
it's not they're unsuccessful. It's just a different style of managing.
I've had.
I got to be careful how I.
Well, I don't. I mean, the best chefs that I've ever had work for me have been female. Like I mean, Donna. My Donna and that worked with me, and she was just phenomenal. Like she was just like she kept everything much more organized than I ever could ever.
Sure.
And she had a way with getting people to do everything that she needed them to do in a much smoother way. She was much more manipulative.
Well,
she was rough. She was rough on people, but she's still, for me, I have a huge sweet spot for, and the girls that worked for us at the Honda Center, they were really strong. I think that it's been tough, and
it's
just a different fact.
It's just a different way. The females are treated differently than males are.
100%.
They are because they're different. And sorry, freaking people are different. Males and females are different. It doesn't mean that they're better or worse than each other. It's just they're different.
I think now being a young kid, I was treated pretty rough. But I think everybody in that, and I was in that last era of like getting punched. Do you know what I mean? I think it started to slow down as I was coming up. It wasn't nearly as aggressive as what my instructors talked about. Like they getting hit open-handed in CIA by the chefs, like literally getting physically assaulted at the school.
Well, I only had incident where it came close, and that was when the chef didn't, and I won't say the chef's name, but the chef, the cooks didn't lock the walk-in downstairs, and he took a master lock and he whipped it across the frickin' kitchen, and it embedded itself in the door. And right as it happened, the sous chef walked by. Almost hit him dead in the head. It would frickin' knocked him unconscious at least.
At least.
And he didn't give a two shits about it.
No.
And it was all because somebody had thrown away some crab or something, and the doors weren't locked downstairs in the prep area. And so he dumped the trash cans out in the middle on the big two prep tables, and then had us go through and separate out all the proteins. because he was so upset that we were throwing away stuff. And the cook who threw it out said it was bad. The crab smelled. It was a little tangy. It was off. I wasn't going to use it, and he freaked out. And then when the chef did that, I lost a lot of respect for him, because he told me get in there and do that, and I said, look, chef, I'll do whatever you want, but that ain't going to happen. He goes, oh, da-da. I said, look, you're not going to kick my ass. You're not.
Not right now, no.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
If I take you out, I'm gonna.
You're gonna.
It's not gonna go good.
Yeah.
So it's not. So you can scream at me, that's fine, but just don't even go there. And I didn't do it, and all the other cooks did it. But I was really disgusted, and that kind of put me in a bad spot in terms of my attitude towards that person.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's so much power that's involved when you're the chef, right? There's so much.
It is.
Like you got to carry that weight. Now, here's a question for you: if you could never walk in the kitchen again, what would you do? Like, you had to set the knife and the saute pan down, and it had to go in the closet and take it out of the bed.
Well, it would really depend on my age. If I'm at this age, oh man, I don't know. My whole life has been around cooking and culinary, so it's very difficult. Become a hunting guide in Alaska, something like that.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
something
a good
like
one.
that. Something fly fishing guide, something outdoors, something. I don't know. Something like that. I would hope I could do. But see, even then, when you shoot an animal, you got to break it down.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you'd end up cooking it.
You didn't end up cooking. I mean, when I used to do, I did a couple of retreats with some execs with Disney, and I where you have to, you get a raw fish and you have to break it down, and they put one chef with each team, and then you got to come up with the dish kind of thing.
Oh, that sounds
yeah, it was fun. So yeah, I just going out there and getting all these. Oh, no, you do this, and that kind of thing.
Did you like your time at Disney?
I did, but I never drank the Kool-Aid, and I was always on double secret probation. I mean, I told a friend of mine who's still working there, I said, when I hired him as my sous chef, and he's still there, he's grown big time. I said, I'm not going to quit this job. I will be walked off property.
You just knew.
I just knew, because I'm a smart ass, and I say dumb shit, and
I would have never.
No, I know, right?
Right.
Like, that would ever happen? Duh. So yeah, I popped off on something that was really bad, and it was because on all my foibles, one of my biggest issues is fairness and treating people the same. I believe it to my core, and so when somebody says that and then they don't do it, it really bugs the crap out of me, and I have a hard time accepting it. So it's like, okay, I want you guys to treat everyone like this, but this one person we're going to treat a little differently.
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
And to me, I was like, well, wait a minute. I had just fired somebody for an incident that was very similar to what was going on, and I had to walk him off, and he was a good guy, but he had screwed up, and the rules were the rules, which I can accept. I had to walk him off. Sorry, you've been working here 12, 14 years. I have to walk you off property. Same person, somebody else does the same thing, but because they had said something about a manager at some point that if we fired that person, it would be kind of like a retaliation or something like that. Although they were stealing, outright stealing. They were clocking in the wrong place, and it was documented with cameras, the whole 9 yards. And I was just like, hey, we just fired somebody for the same stuff. Are you going to get a spine, or are you a bunch of spineless jellyfish? And I hit send to all an HR. So the director of Disney HR, I call him a spineless jellyfish on blast.
Yeah, that's that how'd that work out for you?
Oh, it worked out great.
Yeah.
I had about 3.5 hours till security showed up in my office, but I had enough time to get all my books together, put it knives, and I knew as soon as I hit send, I was like, oh, this is gonna be it.
But you would.
Oh, I'm just a dumbass. I can't do it. I did it anyway.
Do you regret it?
Hell no, because it made me grow.
Did
It was like, oh my God, how am I going to feed my family for a little bit? And it took me a little while to get a job, but about 2 months. But I found a job for more money and more responsibility that could let me grow. So these little things that happen to you in your culinary career, the things that you like feel like a dagger to your heart, they can actually be the opening of a door. You just have to suck it up and go, man, I got fired from that. But you know what? I think I'm going to be better off because I'm going to have to grow. I will go to the next thing. Every time that something's bad has happened to me in terms of my culinary career, where I think that I'm in the depths of despair in terms of, if you're a good chef and you push stuff, you're going to get fired. You're going to get fired.
Yeah, I think
if you don't accept that, then you're not pushing the limits.
I think one of the things that I said to a group of students, and it was when with the program we had at the Honda Center, I was like, this is how it works. Either you're replacing a chef because they're not doing a good job, or they're pushing the envelope, or you're opening a place. That's usually how you get the job.
Right.
There's always a replacement, And
yeah, there is. There's always,
and you definitely, if you do it long enough, you're gonna
step on somebody's toes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Now,
or, I've seen those chefs that have given up that the will, and then just kind of go with the flow and just make do to get to. And I don't know. Maybe I'm not that guy. I never will be. I try to be that guy sometimes, and I can to a certain extent. Because we all have to play politics. This world is that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you play politics with every day you get up.
That's right. Well, as a chef, you got to play it to win, and you got to be smart about it. You got to be really smart about how you dot your I's and cross your T's. You really have to know, and you have to have allies.
Yeah, you definitely. What is the worst mistake or failure you've ever had that, if you look back,
Wow.
Oh yeah, I learned a lot from that one. Would it be hitting send on your email, or you didn't learn any from that except
no? I mean that was.
It was that. I mean, you were. I feel like that was a moral state. You were standing.
Yeah, I know, but
it
was. The thing is that there's an easy way and a hard way, and I took the hard way. I could have taken the easy way. I was already kind of going to look for a job, and I already had some feelers out, and I already kind of knew where I was going to go, but it wasn't 100%. And so then
you sped that up.
So it forced me to go, ugh. But Disney gave me a comfortable life for a very long time, and I learned a hell of a lot at Disney. I learned how to cook with Towers. I learned how to manage with Disney.
I mean, and if you really think about it, that's two of the best places you could have been ever.
That's right. And it's completely different in terms of, as an executive chef, the Disney experience is almost more vital than the Towers experience, because the Towers experience, as it was, I learned how to cook, but I didn't learn how to manage. I learned how to manage. I learned how to bully and be an asshole.
Right.
But that's what it was, and that's what kind of fine dining, upper echelon dining is. Chefs who are driven to a point of making food that's hard and good, and they're going to push you to the point where you either perform or they explode you, and you go off into the mist, and off into the wherever.
Make you or break you, probably.
Yeah, you're going to make you or break it. But the ones that survive, you're better for it, and you're going to be a good chef, and you'll be successful. If you don't, and then that's not to say that people that got exploded didn't at some point become a great chef, because that's not the case. I'm sure there were. It's just, for me, it was the right path for me. And I think that the most important thing is to find the right path for you. Whatever that is, whatever personality that you have, you have to tailor your experience to that. But the only thing I will say that's super important is always start high and then you can go low. Never start low and go high. So work at the best restaurant you can when you start. The best, the hardest, and then that will give you your chops to go anywhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you just, you gotta go someplace that's gonna push you beyond where your comfort level. And I think that's what it really is. It's comfort. My kids, and I'm sure yours, we make it so comfortable for them. They live in great houses. We pick them up. We drop them off. Mm-hmm. We make them lunch. They have no want for anything. They're like little emperors in their own little worlds.
Yeah.
And they're so egocentric to that when we kick them out into the world, it's going to suck.
Yeah, because the world doesn't give a shit.
No, it doesn't care. But we've made them think that they're special. They are to us, but not to anybody else.
Right. And I think that's why I love the kitchen so much. Is because and it's something that I tell all of the anybody I talk to is like, what's funny is that the kitchen doesn't care about anything. And when I say the kitchen, I mean the restaurant, the tickets, the guest, the whole thing. The restaurant business gives zeros about what your agenda is. There might be people that are assholes that run the kitchen that want something from you but in the really grand scheme of things, the only thing that matters in our business is results. It doesn't care what color you are, what sex you are, what religion you are, what sex you like to have, what drugs you like to do.
It's
if you've been to prison, if you haven't been to prison, it doesn't give a shit. What it wants is
did you make your numbers?
Did you hit your numbers? Is the guest happy?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it boils it down to such a pure situation where.
Well, it gets rid of the bullshit. It's all the esoteric stuff doesn't matter because no, I'm good. This stuff is it's too good to drink. As you drink it, it just gets smoother and smoother.
Oh yeah.
Hey, have you noticed the smiles?
Well, I think we're looking very red.
Yeah. It's good
now,
stuff.
you never really answered the question, you're from the failure standpoint, because there's always one that sticks with you.
Things that I've done wrong.
Well, just one where you
where am I?
We'll stick it from. You want to just stick with cooking, not from a management standpoint. Because that's always the toughest for me. I think I've learned so much from managing people.
I had an oh shit moment at Honda Center when I deleted the schedule accidentally when I was learning ABI.
Yeah, that is.
I was like, everybody's schedule just disappeared, and I was like, oh shit, what the hell did I just do? And then I just got a call, cling, chef, have you been working? I think I might have deleted the schedule for everyone in the entire building.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, God,
we have 1,000 people.
Oh, it's horrible.
Do you now?
I felt horrible about it, but we fixed it. But at the time, I had that feeling, that sinking feeling in your chest, like, oh my God, what have I just done?
Yeah,
things like that.
What about? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah. I do have a hobby, kinda.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to talk about it though.
Oh well, then we can move on.
I like mountain biking. I like being outdoors.
That's.
I'm into guns. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think everybody. It's interesting. I ask every chef that I get a chance to talk to.
I love wine too. I'm into wine.
Oh, you're Psalm 1 or 2?
Yeah, Psalm 1.
All right,
yeah.
I think that it's really hard. My hobby is either the family or I'm doing something for UCO. I'm shooting a shift drink, or I'm gonna do a podcast. So I do tons of research, and I just recently made up my mind that Gina runs a lot, and so I'm gonna, before I'm 50, I think I want to try to run a 50K. Because it
well, as you know, as we discussed, and it's funny because we've discussed this stuff on other sides. It's like as you get older, your body says, "Screw you."
Yeah,
screw you. You thought you were going to go to work and be able to stand for 14 hours? I beg to differ. So you can't work the way that you used to work. So you have to do something to increase your longevity in the business. So you have to work out. You have to either lift.
Definitely
do
that would
yoga or whatever it is. I do Krav. That's my thing.
I would say that the most important thing that the young chefs need to do, and male or female, is that you have to dedicate time to your health.
Yeah, you have to
you
have
have
a
to work
You have
out.
to have a balance.
And you have to, and see what's funny is that we were just bitching 40 minutes ago about them finding the balance, but like health,
I get
for your health.
I get the balance part. I absolutely get the balance part, and I think that the new crop of chefs and cooks get it.
Right.
Well, they just won't tolerate it. I don't know if it's that they get it or they won't put up with the shit that we did.
No, they're smarter.
They just won't. They're
like,
much.
No.
I was like, oh, you want me to do that?
It's like you with the other chef, right?
Yeah, well, it's like that. I mean, at some point, there's a line. Everybody has to have a line.
I think
you need to have a line.
You gotta, and I think as soon as I get over this cold and my back stops killing me, it's time. You know what I mean? Because like every year I say that, but you know, I had a pretty good last year. Did some good running, but it's hard to stay in shape.
Well, running is really rough as you get older too. So
yeah, and I think that's why.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a doctor the other day, and he's like, "Dude, that's so bad for you." And I was like, "I know, but I like it." You know, it's like
I used to be a runner too, but I just I'm too much of a fat ass to do it.
It's rough on you. Now, do you watch the Food Channel? Yes or no?
Yeah, I do. I do watch it. Mostly as a secondhand person because my girl likes it a lot.
Okay.
So we watch it, and she loves the baking show, the British baking show where they got the elimination stuff.
I don't. No, I don't.
It's really good. It's really good. It's excellent. I used to watch the old Iron Chef.
Yeah, I watched
the old style one.
What about Top Chef? Do you watch Top Chef?
You know what? I just don't think it's realistic in terms of the way that the chefs are. Look, there are different kinds of chefs, and there are the chefs that will go on a bender all night and come in at 6 a.m. and prep and then make it by the skin of their teeth. They'll just barely under the wire. 5 o'clock, the last thing's going in, it gets done. And they're busting their butt to get it done. And they're just, if one little thing goes wrong, that order didn't come in, but somehow they managed to make it happen. That is the kind of chef that does well on those shows. I am the kind of chef that I like to have everything done the day before.
Yeah,
I get everything done. I like to plan it out. I like to script it. I like to go, okay, this is going to happen. We're going to do this. Then we'll get that stuff. Because the day of is for the screw-ups. This didn't happen, and then I have time to react.
Right.
I don't like that.
Do you think you would do well on Top Chef, or do you think it would be a huge challenge?
Well, I did an Iron Chef with Hilton, and I won. Like 5 or 6 different Hilton chefs that I went against. And it was fun. It was in a parking lot, and we just had a grill. And because I'm very competitive, so at some point I can cook like that. It's just not my natural state.
Yeah.
It's not my natural state, and I'm not comfortable doing it. Like Walter Rowan, the chef that I want you to interview, he's that guy.
That's him.
He's that guy. And we work together and do catering sometimes, and he drives me crazy because he's like, putting this in the last minute. I'm like, we got to get this shit done.
Yeah.
Got to be done. And I used to be his boss. So when I'm working for him, it's funny because I tend to revert to my, what the hell are you doing? Get that in right now.
Yeah.
I can't stop myself.
That's, it's so hard to, step back from what you were at one point, especially as a chef.
Yeah, it would be very hard for me to go in. I always say that my retired job is I'm going to cook eggs at Denny's.
Do you think you could?
I don't think I can.
You're going to run Denny's.
I know. I think I could cook the eggs at Denny's. I don't think I could shut up so they would let me kid. I'd just be like, God, that guy, who the hell does he think he is?
Oh, yeah,
he's telling. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
That
fired. Doesn't go over there.
Yeah.
This goes over here. You can't
the
put
order
that there.
didn't come in right.
It's like, my God, you can't leave that there. What is your problem? I just can't. It's like a switch. You can't. It's like there are people that do things and there are people that are things. Like a race car driver is a race car driver all the time. When he is driving down the street or he sees his mom or that guy's a race car driver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
NFL football player, they are the NFL football player.
Mhm.
A chef is a chef. They're a chef all the time. They can't turn it off. There are some people like a CPA. You never know what the hell job they did unless they told you, because they do it's a trade that they perform to get income.
Yeah.
Chefs are a lifestyle persona.
Oh, it's gotten so much more.
Yeah, well,
over the
with the
years.
whole thing, well, it's an ebb and flow, but with the TV and all this stuff, I mean,
I think it's almost like rock and roll status.
yeah. Well, I mean,
But it's like rock and rollers really got it right because they party and they play music. Like they don't work on Christmas Day. Right?
yeah. Our
And
dumbasses are.
Yeah, we're working. Now, as far as teachers go through your whole career, if you had the opportunity to say thank you to one of the teachers, which teacher would it be?
You know, I liked Bo Freeberg. He was a pastry chef, and he was my pastry chef in culinary school. And that guy, he was pretty amazing.
Okay.
Very and I didn't know who he was because going in culinary school, I'd been in the Marine Corps, so I wasn't in the culinary game at that point. But he's like world renowned, and he was just so down to earth. And you know, his book is like the Bible of pastry.
Yes.
To this day, you find it in most good kitchens. You'll find that book.
Mhm.
And I got the opportunity to be with that guy. And then there was Butcher Bob. He was a great guy too. Womanizer, man. God.
Butcher Bob.
Butcher Bob from the, he showed me how to break down a carcass.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was a good guy. California Culinary Academy. God knows where he's at, or if he's even still alive. But he was pretty cool. And then of course Jeremiah Towers. I mean, without his restaurant and the learning and Mark Franz and all the guys from that place, there's no way I would be where I am. There's no.
Now, if you could pick any chef, alive or dead, and you get to go to dinner,
Paul Bocuse.
okay,
Yeah.
and where?
Oh, Jesus. I'd probably go to Alinea.
Yeah, and just see. Like,
And I would have Paul Bocuse kind of break it down for me.
that,
like have him like go, this is like this, and because Alinea is one of those places where it's food discovery, and then have Paul, his reaction I think would be priceless. I
Perfect.
think that would be really cool.
well, man, we're way deep into this.
Yeah,
one.
I know, man. You're
So
gonna
we'll
have
have
to
to
cut the
have
crap
you-
of it.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not going to cut it. That's what's the beautiful thing about these podcasts. I mean, you name it, you've done it. I mean, from serving in the military to jumping into culinary school to landing at Stars with Jeremiah Towers in the heyday to finding yourself over a decade working for the Disney Corporation and now, rolling hot dogs with me at the Honda Center.
Yeah,
it's been an interesting journey.
It's good stuff, man.
If there
It's
was
fun.
anything that you had to add as we wrap this up for a great episode of Leave It on the Line, what would you pass on to anybody that was wanting to be a chef?
Just understand what you're getting yourself into, and don't be timid. Timidity is not something you can be and be a chef. You need to. Mark Franz said this to me, and this is the most poignant thing you can say to a new chef. If you don't think your food is good, then how the hell is anybody else going to? So if you don't think you can cook, and you don't think that the food on the plate is the shit, then no one else will. So you've got to have confidence. You've got to have confidence in yourself, but you got to back it up with skill. That's it. If you can do that, you'll be a great chef.
Wow, that's pretty profound. No, that's really good.
No,
So
I'm just, I'm full of stuff like that. Well, I got one other thing because this is cool. This
now
is
go.
cool. 86. Now, this is what I heard where 86 came from.
Okay.
And I'm sure everybody says 86 in the kitchen, right? It's a common phrase.
Yes.
It's like 86, we're out of X, whatever
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
Well, this comes from the Vickers machine gun in World War I. The Vickers machine gun had 86 rounds of ammunition. And when they were done shooting at the Germans, they would go 86, meaning that they were out and they needed another belt of ammunition. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. But see, it's so that I love that you're wrapping it up with that one because you dropped some really profound knowledge, and then you're like, this is the 86, but
yeah,
just
what 86 is, man.
Well, it's just like every other chef wants to tell you how the best way to skin a cat, if you will. or how this is how you make beef consomme, or this is how you make stock.
Everybody's got their way.
I heard that it was from some steakhouse in New Jersey, and number 86 special always ran out first. So there's like all these stories that relate to what 86. And I think what you just got to pick yours.
You're the one that works for you.
Yes.
I like that one because it's a cool story. I don't know if it's true, and I'm sure that someone in the blogosphere will go, that ain't friggin' right.
You know, when we throw it up and it's on the internet, no telling what's
right.
going on. He's an idiot. What is he talking about?
Suck it.
Don't read the comments.
No, I gotta read the comments.
I gotta read the comments.
Yeah.
Well, you guys let Chef Chad know if where the term 86 came from.
Yeah, if I'm
it's
wrong,
Vickers machine gun.
Yeah, Vickers machine gun, 86 rounds in a belt.
Okay,
I'm sure that to me that's the coolest one. So.
I mean,
yeah,
it works.
Being
for
a
me.
military guy, that's I'm always looking for that kind of stuff.
I like it.
Yeah,
it works. It works.
Whatever works.
Well, I think if your time, I think we're gonna call this. Well, you'll have to you come back on. We'll have to maybe
that was fun.
Catch up on some more stuff.
Yeah, we'll just get more Chimay because this brings out the
it
brings out the conversation.
The Chimay was fantastic. So I would like to thank Chimay as a sponsor.
Yeah.
You can mail the check to.
Well, if you've never had Chimay, I
highly recommend it. It was definitely good. And we've got. I can't wait to find out who you recommend to be on the next Leave It on the Line.
Well, that would be Walter Rowan, and I'll call him up because this dude, he's a chef that I hired as a sous chef at Disney, and then I lived with him for a time, at a hard time in my life, and he really helped me out, and I helped him out in a hard time, and I got him a job, and he's in that job, and he's kicking butt. He's a great chef, but he's a great storyteller, and he's, I mean. He used to be a rock and roll drummer back in the day at a band that's local, Orange County, called Primitive Painters back in the 90s.
Oh, I can't even
it was
imagine.
big. It was like they used to open up for like the Police and stuff. So they were big time. And he's got great stories, not just culinary wise, but just in general. I mean, he'll tell a story where, and I'm sure you can relate to this. I would call him up because he would work the weekends, and then I would call him up on Monday morning, and I'd be like, I'd leave him a prep list, and he'd have done it, but he hides it. So I have no idea where it is. It's a big ass kitchen. I go, God damn it, Walter, where the hell is the chicken? He'd be like, oh, it's in the cooler on the left, because he wouldn't label it. And I was like, God damn it, give me the chicken. Things like that. So he's a
character.
Yeah, he's a character.
Well,
and
I think
he's very animated. You'll have fun with him.
For those of you guys that don't know, I'm picking a very small handful of chefs to do an episode of Leave It on the Line, and they recommend one of the guests for the next one.
Yeah, well, he'll be good, and I can imagine who he's gonna.
What's funny is that
he would recommend. So.
You've been recommended by somebody else that we shot a podcast.
Yeah, well, that's funny. I mean,
and like
he didn't even work for me.
Yeah, no, but he's like, you got to have him on just from the interaction.
Yeah, the entertainment value alone. Right?
What have you had to say? Right on. So, as always, guys, thank you for tuning in and listening to yet another episode of Leave It on the Line. And it's right before we jump into the 2018 season, so there's a lot happening. Little hoarse voice. We're both fighting off a cold, getting ready for the new year. No, not very well at all. But I tell you what, I definitely enjoyed this episode. We're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
All right.
Peace out.
We'll see you guys the next time.